Hello, my name is Ben Consalvo. I'm an AI software engineer at Intel, and today I want to show you this LLM chatbot on Hugging Face. So right away, I just want to show you a preview of this. So I'll write in a prompt into this chatbot, and I'm asking it to tell me about the USA election cycle and then to build a front-end application for it. So we can see that the chatbot's working. That's good. And it's talking about the election, and it's doing it fairly quickly, and then showing some of the HTML and then generating some other code, it looks like here. So that's a demo of this application. What I want to talk to you about today is, first I want to go over this Intel AI for Enterprise Inference to show you how you can access an LLM model with this service in the cloud, and you can do that through Denvr Dataworks or IBM. And then I'll walk you through the Streamlit documentation that I used to get set up and get started for this LLM chat app. And then I'll transition to working back to Hugging Face, which is where we are now, these Hugging Face spaces where you can actually host your demo application online for anybody to use if you make it public, and get into showing the secrets for the API key and the base URL, as well as the actual Python code itself, which isn't very long, about 70 some lines of code. And then we'll get back into showing the application. So with that, yeah, I'll go ahead and get started. So I said, help me to understand the USA election cycle and write me a front-end application that shows a dynamic view of the past 3 elections with maps and political parties. So what I noticed right away is that it's very quick to respond. So it's hosted on an Intel AI accelerator called Gaudi 2, and tokens per second is really fast. It's already generated the answer for about the elections that I've asked it about, and then it's generated some, looks like HTML code. I didn't specify what kind of code, so I guess it's done HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to create a front-end kind of looking application that we might be able to try in the future. So yeah, that's the chatbot, and I'll get more into the details of it as we walk through the demo. But I wanted to show you the Intel AI for Enterprise Inference GitHub repository, and this is basically a inference service where you can ping an LLM model that's sitting on a cloud server, and using the OpenAI standard API, get a response back right from that model. So it's an inference endpoint service, and right now you can get that hosted either on Intel Gaudi or Intel Xeon CPUs. And the one I'm going to show today, or that I'm showing today, is the Intel Gaudi. So there are a couple of different cloud providers that we have that can host these LLMs. So the first one is called Denvr Dataworks, and so I'm just showing the website here with Intel Gaudi. And like I mentioned, this is our Intel Gaudi 2 product. And the models that are supported are all listed here on their website. So the llama models, DeepSeek models, Qwen models. So those are the ones that we're making use of today. And specifically, the one I was showing is called Llama 3.3 70B, or is that a 70 billion parameter model. And like it mentions here, there's a native OpenAI API compatibility. So you can use the API key as well as a model endpoint and be able to grab all of these models. So the second cloud provider I'll highlight is IBM. IBM's just getting the Gaudi 3 going on their ibmcloud, so it's another place that you'll be able to access these endpoints. And what I'll do is I'll provide all these links to you in the description, so you can feel free to take a look there and be able to build your own LLM chat application. So where I actually started to build this from was from the Streamlit documentation. And they have a tutorial on how to build a basic LLM chat app. So what they don't include here is how to do this on Hugging Face. So I can show you that. But what you can do is on Hugging Face, you can host a Streamlit front-end application. And so this actually walks you through how to do that. And so a lot of the code that I have is actually taken from here. I've just modified it slightly to make it to work on Hugging Face and to add some extra UI elements into what I'm showing in my application. But yeah, as I walk through some of the code in a minute, you'll get to see more of this in action. So, but before I get to the code, what I wanted to show is actually Hugging Face Spaces. If you're not familiar, Hugging Face Spaces is a place that you can host your own demo applications, and you can go to this Hugging Face Spaces website or just look on Google for it, and you can go to create new space, and then you can create a name for it, a description, add a license, and choose your front end and how you want to host your space, and then you can make it public or private. In my case, I've made mine public. And so that's the one that I was showing at the beginning, and what we'll be walking through today, so that anybody can access this and kind of toy around with it. What I want to do is, before getting into all of the code, which isn't very long, by the way, it's only I think 70 lines of code. What I want to show you is on the space, once you have deployed it, once you have started it, you can go to settings to set up some secrets for the API key and the model endpoint. So here you can go to variables and secrets on this Hugging Face settings site for this specific space. And then you can add both variables, which I've already added a couple here, as well as secrets. And you can actually, when it's a variable, it's public. So that's the base URL, and that's the Denvr Dataworks model endpoint. And what I'll do in the code is actually access this directly with the Streamlit code. And the same with the OpenAI API key that I've listed here. So as long as I know the name of the variable or the secret, I can access those. So in the case of the variable, you can access it with an environment variable command. And then the secret you can access with a Streamlit secrets command. Yeah, and so you can get those on Denvr Dataworks. Yeah, so now I'll turn over to walking through some of the code that I built. And so on your space, what you can do is, just like a GitHub repository, you can upload your code, all of the code that you need for this application, directly to Hugging Face. So directly to, just like you would clone, a GitHub repository, you can clone your space, your Hugging Face space, and then interact with it with Git, just like you would with your GitHub repository. So I have a few files here. Git ignore is just one to ignore certain files. And then license, I believe, I have an Apache 2.0 license uploaded here. I have a README that was just that I've built with just some basic information about how to get started, as well as some metadata with the the title of the project and the fact that I'm using Streamlit for a front end, and some of that in the README itself. So not a lot of different files here that I have for this very short application, and then a requirements file, just the libraries that I'm using, so Streamlit and OpenAI, so pretty simple. And then getting into the application itself, the app.py file. So this is a Python file where I'm essentially, like I said, I'm mostly using this documentation from this Streamlit website to build this initially, and then kind of customizing it a bit to my needs. So to start, walk through the importing the libraries. We have Streamlit and OpenAI and OS and JSON. And this first function is just to clear the messages out of the the front end. So we're going to see this session state messages quite a bit, and this is just keeping track of those messages back and forth between the user, so myself, and the LLM. And and then I just have a couple of markdown items to put in. You probably saw, like on the actual front end, that I have this Intel AI for enterprise inference, as well as the LLM Chatbot. Actually, what I'll do is I'll pull that up as well, so I can reference it as we're going. So so you can actually see the front end elements that I'm talking through. All right, so the first element in this front end is this sidebar. So this on the left, this whole area. So you can do a streamlit.sidebar and then put in some of your custom code. And what I actually have first is just what I had referenced about the secrets and the API key. So I first have Streamlit getting this secret that I already showed you in the Hugging Face settings, and then as well as the environment variable. So this is getting the OpenAI compatible API key, as well as the model endpoint URL. And I'm using the OpenAI client. And then what's neat is that I can actually just ping the client and say, list all the models that are available. So I don't even have to necessarily know all the names of those models. So as we look at this drop down, I have the names of all these models, but I've grabbed them just dynamically with the code, pinging the endpoint and saying, what models do we have? And then I'm displaying those here. So that, sorting those model names by alphabetical order. And then I've also specified a default model name for the one that I want to use, but you don't have to have a default model specified here. It'll automatically create one. But I just want it to use this particular one by default. So that's why I've specified it here. Yeah, and then on the selection box that I highlighted, we can select an LLM model. I say running on Intel Gaudi and hosted on Denvr Dataworks. And I'm getting this model names from up here to put that right into the sidebar. And then, yeah, also just write in some more markdown for what the person has selected and how somebody can create a new chat. And when they do that, it'll actually clear the chat window so that it's a new kind of a new area, a new chat for somebody to work in. Yeah, and then like I said, it's only about 77 lines of code here. So the rest is kind of defining the session state and the messages that are going back and forth between the user and the LLM. So like I mentioned before, this session state messages is the area that kind of as we go through the app, it just keeps track of all the messages that are being saved. So the first one is a message, this chat message where we're getting the content directly from the user, and just defining that with markdown and showing putting that into the messages there. So the line 52 here, we have the prompt, the input just says what is up, and then we're getting this prompt to put in and putting that into the chat message, into the markdown. And then so that's the human aspect of getting all the information in the prompt. And then the second aspect is we want to actually use the LLM model and stream that response into this Streamlit session state messages. And so what it does is after it gets the response, we actually write that directly into the stream. And what it's using is the OpenAI client that you might already be familiar with. So I've imported this OpenAI client and defined it, and then started to build out this client here, and yeah, putting those messages back into that messages stream. And I've put a max tokens of 4,096. So there's about, I would say, 75% of that is actual words. Like when you look at what is a token versus an English word, I'd say about 3/4 would be the limit. So like about 3,000 words for the max tokens in this case is what I've defined, which is a pretty good amount. It's not like 128,000 tokens, but it's still a good amount that you can put into the stream. After all that, we get the response and we put that into the messages, and then just have a couple of except statements if something didn't work quite right. And that's basically the whole application. And like I said, this is mostly coming from this Streamlit documentation with just a few modifications, like the ones I pointed out with the our OpenAI key and base URL that we're inputting here directly in the Hugging Face settings. So what we can do is, again, take a look at this chat application, and let's go ahead and try a different model. So let's try the DeepSeek model, and let's try a different prompt this time. Instead of the USA election cycle, let's look at what it thinks about how many planets there are in the solar system. And actually, DeepSeek tends to be more verbose. The models that we have from DeepSeek, although this one was actually pretty succinct this time. So it says there are 8 planets, and then it discounts Pluto at the end, as it was previously classified as a planet. So I'll just ask it, tell me more about Pluto. And yeah, so then goes on to talk about its discovery in 1930, its orbit, size, composition. Yeah, which is great. So with that, that's essentially the chatbot and how it's built. So what we covered today was the actual chatbot itself, and then the Intel Enterprise Inference for the model endpoint and the OpenAI API key, and getting those hosted. And then went over the Denvr Dataworks and IBM partners that we have for cloud service providers. And then I walked through the Streamlit application documentation that really helped me to get started on building this. And then we got into the actual Hugging Face side of things, where we looked at the how to create a new space, as well as uploading your secrets there that you can use for building this application, and then actually walk through the code itself to show you a bit about how to build one of these LLM chat applications yourself, so that you can create something kind of similar to a ChatGPT experience. If you want to connect with me, you can do so on our Intel DevHub Discord server. I'll make sure to leave a link for that, as well as you can connect with me on LinkedIn. And I'll also make sure to leave links for all the resources that I went over today for you in the description. So with that, thanks for watching and happy coding.